Everyone knows the story of David and Goliath. It's one of the biggest stories in the Bible. But the new Angel Studios David movie is hitting on something that is often ignored in the story. See, the Philistines aren't just biblical villains. They're the sea peoples who collapsed the entire Bronze Age. And now we finally have the DNA evidence to prove it. What's going on, you guys? I'm Isaac Hubbell. This is the Isaac Hubbell Podcast, and this is where we break down all of the amazing new insights and popular things going on in the media when it comes to anthropology, archaeology, all of the ancient history stuff. This is going to be a channel where we are devoted to breaking down all of the coolest things going on when it comes to ancient history. So I am so excited about the David trailer. I know that many of you guys have probably seen it about 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's been something on my mind that I've wanted to go through because I love biblical archaeology. It's one of my favorite things in the whole world because it plays so much into my faith in the Lord. I wanted to watch this trailer with you guys, and then we'll kind of break it down and we'll go over some of this really cool archaeology, anthropology, behavior type stuff, and just how well they stuck to the biblical stuff and all the evidence that supports what they're trying to show in here. So I'm gonna get this started and we'll watch it real quick, and we'll go from there. We'll break it down.
When the sheep scatter,
It looks so
a
good.
shepherd is who they need.
They're giving Disney a run for their money.
Are you going to sing or what?
Love in the temple. Wow.
Get out!
Tabernacle and everything.
The king's love of the crown
With the
has
Philistines
consumed
there.
him. David, are you ready to be the next king?
What? No.
No?
Don't mess this up for me, David.
I love this.
I get speed.
If you've seen the little,
I'm just a shepherd. We already have a king.
We will crush your kingdom. Those are fighting
I love the Philistines. They look all flamboyant and crazy. Look at that. Oh, it looks awesome. It looks so Greek. Oh wow, they even did it with Goliath too, which is awesome too. I forgot that. Look at that.
Yep, we're dead.
They got the right level of humor too. Oh, it's so good. Look at that. I mean, it looks beautiful.
I told you.
He's brave.
Okay.
He is true. No.
He's so humble too.
Right on. Oh, I love how they did that with David, transitioning him that way
I have never wanted
into an adult. Like, really well done.
Now, do Saul and David fight to the death.
I love it. And then there's the toppling of the idols. Okay, cool. That's right. And then we got David. Look at this. Oh, come on and follow the light.
He's not against flesh
It's
and
like
blood.
a biblical musical.
In our
Oh, it looks so good.
I'm a
Oh
shepherd.
my gosh.
What can I do but look after my sheep?
Follow the light. Gosh, it's so good, guys. It looks so good. I'm so excited.
who they need.
That'll teach you to mess with my sheep.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. So first, let's just start here. So what's awesome is they're already opening up with, and they did this a lot in the little TV show that they did for David. Oh, it's not letting me scoot it where I want to scoot it. Hold on, everybody. Okay. So David is the good shepherd. All right. He's the example right here of, this relationship between David and sheep is beautiful. What I love is it kind of covers David. First of all, he's always referred to as the shepherd boy. He's the guy. He's the one that's the son of Jesse that is is the shepherd. He's always with his sheep, and David loves his sheep. He never lets any of them go away, and he makes point of mentioning that to Saul, King Saul, after he becomes his armor bearer or whatever it's called. Before David goes and faces Goliath, David flat out says to Saul, "I protect my sheep from the lions and from the bears, and if one of them gets taken, I go and take them out of their mouth and I slay them." So, and I believe what it actually says, if we go here to the Bible where it's talking about it. So this is 1 Samuel chapter 17 verse 34. But David said to Saul, "Your servant used to keep sheep for his father. And when there came a lion or a bear and took a lamb from the flock, I went after him and struck him and delivered it out of his mouth. And if he arose against me, I caught him by his beard and struck him and killed him." So, and then he goes on to say, "Your servant has killed both lions and bears, and this Philistine shall be like one of them, seeing he has defied the armies of the living God." Okay, so that's really cool. We get reference. So David flat out says to Saul, "I am a good shepherd, and I will not let one of my sheep be taken. If one of them is taken, I will go to that beast and I will take it." Okay, so we see this imagery, and that's this deep relation to what Christ calls himself. Christ, Jesus, when he's walking amongst us, he calls himself the Good Shepherd. And that reference is directly back to David. It's a good reference piece for the Jews of the time of Christ. And what's awesome is it also shows, what Christ is trying to give the imagery of himself to these people, which is they all know David would destroy any lion and any bear or anybody trying to take one of his sheep. Just one. And Christ goes on to, go further into that. But with regards to David, this is why this imagery is important, because, Christ is also called the Son of David. So just really neat. I love that they really show David's deep relationship with his sheep. But we'll keep going here. Okay. Gosh,
Are you going to sing or what?
Follow the light.
Okay, so we got Israelite armies. There's Saul. Yep.
Has consumed him.
Yep. Saul, and that's the thing about Saul. Saul did not follow God's commandments. Saul has to go into battle against the Amalekites, and while he defeats the Amalekites, he doesn't fulfill God's commandments. And so the word of the Lord, Christ, goes to Samuel and says, Saul was not the right person to anoint, and I'm going to depart from him. My spirit will depart from him. And so Samuel is grieved by that. The reason is because Saul is greedy, so he takes things he's not supposed to take from the Amalekites when he goes into battle with them. And then he brings all that stuff back to sacrifice it to the Lord, to God, to Yahweh. And inevitably, that's not what God asked him to do. God asked him to be rid of it all. And it's, what really is what's really what it is a story with Saul. Saul needs to learn to obey. Sacrifices are important, don't get me wrong, but you need to learn to also just obey what the Lord is asking you to do. So that's why Saul starts to get jealous, because the spirit leaves him, and especially after Goliath, after the David and Goliath episode, because David's anointed before he ever faces Goliath. Saul stays king, even though the Lord has departed from him over a long period of time, so there's this growing wickedness to Saul, and he builds idols of himself. He puts himself up, which we'll see also later on here too, which is really cool. But that's just important background image information. And what I love here too is we have David's brothers, and I believe he's Eliab, because he is in the shorts also, the little short films that they did for Angel Studios. And then we have David as a young man, and he's going up to Samuel, but there's his brothers, and they've already been, checked by Samuel, and Samuel's like, "No way, bring the shepherd boy." Now, Zeruiah, she is supposed to be an actual relative. Zeruiah is this little girl right here, by the way. She's awesome in the shorts. She's a cute little character, and she's cute throughout this trailer and some of the other songs that they've released. What's fascinating is they depict her here as this little girl, and I think they did this on purpose. They took some artistic license. David does have a relative, I believe it is his sister, named Zeruiah, but it's never indicated how she's actually, what age she is in comparison to him. She's not brought up a lot. It's an actual biblically accurate name to David. But she plays his little sister, and what David's supposed to symbolize, being a man after God's own heart, is that David also understands with children. Children adore him. His sister adores him because he's got such a pure heart. And that's what Christ says for us, is to be like children, to have these pure hearts and love the Lord with a pure and full heart. It doesn't mean you're not going to sin. It doesn't mean you're not going to make mistakes. But what it does say is that you love the Lord your God with all your heart. And that's what Jesus tells us to do. That's, basically his two main rules for us is to love the Lord God with all your heart and soul, hearkening back to not only when he's in the wilderness with, the devil, man shall not eat by bread alone, but what he'd also hearkening back to is in Deuteronomy, where Moses is saying that to the Israelites as well. And, so we have to love the Lord our God with all our heart and soul. And then we also have to love one another as, and treat one another as we should. It's just showing the relationship to Christ. And I love that they're throwing that in here, that David's a man after God's own heart. And, there's that Christ-like imagery showing up here with David. But let's keep going.
Are you ready to be the next king?
What? No.
No?
Don't mess this up for me, David. I get to be princess.
Okay, so we'll pause here again. That isn't in 1 Samuel. Now, does David never tries to take the throne from Saul. He's never trying to do that. He wants things to go the way that they're supposed to go, the way of the Lord. David actively also doesn't get rid of Saul. He could capture him. There's the moment where he's in the cave, and they hear Saul, and David steals and cuts off a piece of Saul's tunic or whatever it is, or his robe, and then calls out to Saul and says, "I could have taken you, I could have killed you," and he doesn't. So David actively, and then he does it later on when there's a battle going on as well. David's got a couple of people with him, and he goes down and they find Saul's army, okay? And Saul sleeping in the encampment. And David and Abishai go down to the army. Abishai says to David, "God has given you your enemy into your hand this day. Now, therefore, let me pin him to the earth, and with one stroke of the spear, and I will not strike him twice." And then David says to Abishai, "Do not destroy him, for who can put forth his hand against the Lord's anointed and be guiltless?" And David said, "As the Lord lives, the Lord will strike him, or his day shall come to die, or shall go down into battle and perish. The Lord forbid that I should put forth my hand against the Lord's anointed. But take now the spear that is at his head, and the jar of water, and let us go." So David doesn't destroy Saul twice. He could have done it, didn't do it. That's fascinating. But the point of that is that Saul is very conceited and full of himself. But David, the only time that he really is saying, "I don't want to be at the throne," is when he's trying not to destroy Saul. He won't take down the Lord's anointed. But David never denies wanting to be king or resolves from being king. So I just wanted that clear, that this is artistic license right here. So we'll keep going.
I'm just a shepherd. We already have a king.
We will crush your kingdom. Those are fighting words. Bring out Goliath.
Okay.
When I'm looking for the way.
He's huge.
Okay, so hold on. Before we do anything here, I love the thing that I love the most is how well they did the Philistines. It makes me so happy. So I'm gonna bring it back here just real quick. Hold on, because I want you guys to watch this so I can kind of explain this a little bit here. So in 1 Samuel 17, the whole David and Goliath story, it's very picturesque. They give you the whole landscape, and what's cool is that in this, they managed to do it right. So the battle takes place in the valley. They line up against each other. It's not a battle. They line up, the forces do. You can see them right here. And they're up on the hillside. They're all camped out on the hillside, just like it says in the Bible. Okay? And what's interesting is this whole series here, some of this is not, we don't know what this guy right here would have said. I'm going to get to him in a second. But we do know that when King Saul and Jonathan are there and they line up against Goliath, what's awesome, get ready, okay, so the Israelites are also camped up on their side, so everything is accurately right. First of all, environmentally, all of this is correct, so that's awesome. I love the red coloring. But here's where the cool archaeological stuff comes into play, because we know what the Philistines looked like for the most part, and the accuracy of them is brilliant. So we'll get to this. Ready?
Shepherd. We already have a king.
We will crush you.
Okay. this is awesome. So the Philistines here. So if we look at it here, okay, watch this. So the Philistines, if you look at their helmets, they have these fluffy helmets. Now, and they're really colorful. There's a flamboyancy to the Philistines. And what's wild is that we know that the Philistines come from the Aegean region. They are the sea peoples. That is what the academic consensus is right now. And what's awesome is that they really nailed it. First of all, that we know about like their pottery. I think it's Mycenaean 3C pottery. So we know it comes from the Aegean region, and we know their helmets match that of the Peleset, and the Peleset is Egyptian for Philistines. Philistine, like that's their term for it, and it's for the sea peoples. Okay, and it's on this thing called the Medinet Habu, which is the Ramses III his mortuary temple. We have a depiction of what these Peleset or the Philistines should have looked like. And their helmets match, which is awesome because we know they come from the Aegean. And then the other cool things about the this is not only they look very Near Eastern here, because when they became Philistines, that would be the case. Like they interbred, and when Ramses defeated them, he relocated them to the Near East, near Ekron and all those the hill regions. What's wild is the Philistines, we have genetic data on them too, which I'll get to here in a second, because the way they depict Goliath, I think they're playing on some of the Greek myth with it, which is fun. But with these Philistines, okay, if you look at their armor and their look and the way that they dress, it's not only very Greek, it's also because the sea peoples were a hodgepodge. There's this mix, this admixture, and then they marry and have children with people in the Near East once they're resettled, and so we know that there's this mix of cultural connection. But here's where things get really wild.
We already have a king.
We will crush your kingdom. Those are fighting words. Bring out Goliath.
So what's cool, this little guy right here with all the fluffiness, there's the flamboyancy that I love that they're bringing to this. You see like kind of the more conservative feeling look. Now, you didn't cut your hair. I don't know if it was like this around Saul's time, but I know during Judges, like with Samson, his hair, the Israelites wouldn't cut their hair, that's for a different video, but everything depicted is very well done, like to the way that they would look, okay? But I love this red on red on red, the maroons. But the Philistines would have been very flamboyant because the Philistines came from the Greek region, and we know that there's much more openness to the flamboyancy with the Greek cultures. So what I love is their depiction of this. And then the shirtlessness is matching the thing up on the walls at that Medinet Habu in Egypt. So that looks correct. All those tents and their encampments up on those staged hills, that looks just like how it would look in that valley region. But in the story of David and Goliath, it is said that Goliath sends ahead his let me get the exact word. Hold on. Because they're in Judah. So when you go to 1 Samuel 17, it tells you the exact landscape. So they're gathered at Skok or Soko, which belongs to Judah. So it's in the southern Israel region. But here's the cool part. So there was a champion named Goliath, of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits in a span. So we'll get to that in a second. But it says, it says, and his shield bearer went before him. So I'm wondering if this is supposed to be his shield bearer. The other parts with Goliath we'll get to here in a second, but he looks the Greekness mixed in with everything. It just makes me laugh. It's so well done.
Fighting words. Bring out Goliath.
Okay. He's huge. All right. So look at Goliath here. They're missing something. There is something missing from this, which they didn't give him his coat of mail, but his armor's huge. In the Bible, it says that he's 6 cubits tall. All right. The other thing is that, first of all, let me cover one thing first. All right. So first of all, here's where you can really see why they're bringing in this Greco stylization, this Aegean Greek look to the Philistines because he does have a lighter complexion to his skin. Whereas in the other ones where they were drumming, they looked a little bit more darker in tone, like how people from the Near East would be. I love how they're playing on that Goliath is a giant, and he does kind of fit this mold looking of a Greek giant, okay? These Greek heroes, they almost give him like this Herculean, like Heracles look to him. But so he's missing his chain, his coat of mail. But I love that they mix that in because we do have genetic evidence, like genetic evidence. I'll put it in a paper here up on the screen. But there is genetic work that's been done that's proven that there is European genes in European genetic ancestry in the Philistine people. So the way that they brought that in there, I thought that was really wild. There's a lot of research that's been done onto this with the Greek mythos and the Near Eastern myths and religions intermixing. And, when we think about myths, when we go back in time, that is their religion. So what's interesting is they gave him a very Greek look to him. And I think that's awesome that they brought that in. So Goliath's huge, but not that huge when you think about what the Bible actually says when we look at the sizes, okay? In the Bible, it says that Goliath is 6 cubits tall, okay? And there's an importance to this. What is a cubit? So for those who might want to build one day in a biblical fashion, anytime you hear in the Bible that there's a cubit is this long, okay? A cubit is basically the length from the tip of your finger to the end of your elbow, okay? And that's roughly 18 inches, okay? And what's neat is or in like the royal cubit, it's 21, like 20 to 21, I think, inches. I'll put that up on the screen. But if we do the math, Goliath, and then the average height of an Israelite person, somebody living in the Near East at that time, and if you look up here, they did a great job with all the Israelites encamped on here. But sorry, I noticed that. But with the cubit thing, what I love is that, so if we go back here, So if you look here, the Bible says he's 6 cubits, Goliath. All right. So if he's 6 cubits and the average Israelite male is about 5'2" to 5'6", that's the height we're actually working with here. They weren't super tall. Goliath being 6 cubits, if we did the math, that's 1 cubit equals about 18 inches. And then we do 18 times 6. That gets us to about 108 inches. Well, 108 inches is roughly 9 feet. So to imagine if you're 5 feet, if you're looking up 4 feet to somebody's head, that's a pretty tall guy, and that's not outrageously crazy. But what's even cooler is that most Bibles take the Masoretic Text, which is the 8th or 9th century Jewish text of the Old Testament. We have now the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Greek Septuagint. And in both the Dead Sea Scrolls, which date to the 200s BC, 3rd century BC, and then the Septuagint dates to a similar period, is the Greek translation of the Hebrew. Both of those say 4 cubits. So that's even shorter. That's dropping almost 4 feet down. That's like 6 feet, 6'6". So if that's a giant and the oldest, when you look at the linguistics, that is, that makes things a little different here. But for this, I can tell that they took the Masoretic Text, and he looks, if you're thinking about it, he's a little bit bigger than 9 feet, but, he's tall. He's not a giant as in 50 feet tall, but I thought that was really cool. I thought they did a really good job with all this representation of the Philistines. But let's get to David real quick. Okay, so we have Saul hiding away, which he does, and David goes out.
Yep, we're dead.
If you want the secret of freedom,
Okay, see that helmet? That is, it looks just like what we see on the art wall, and it's this fluffy hair going up. I love the connection with the red and everything. The artist, the bronze, all of it is beautiful. So David's shocked,
I told you.
but he's not shocked in the Bible.
he's brave. He is true. No.
He's so humble too.
Okay, so David is humble, okay? David's not, I mean, David likes the attention in a way, but he also does, it's not as dramatic as they're making it out to seem here. David's not like, no, I'm not the king, I'm not the best, but David doesn't brag either necessarily. But the girls do kind of brag on him. They go, when he walks into the city, this was really well done here. When he walks in the city and all the Israelite girls are walking towards, Saul and Jonathan and David, they go, Saul has slayed his thousands, but David has slayed his 10,000s, which really makes Saul jealous, which goes all the way back to the beginning of the trailer where Saul throws the thing at David while he's playing the lyre because Saul gets jealous by the attention that David's getting. It's just, they did a really great job. Come on and jump to David over. And everybody loves David.
You have stolen the hearts of my people. Lies!
What happens now? Do Saul and David
So that's Saul chasing David, which makes sense. David does flee to the wilderness.
fight to the death?
Oh, they were taking some, I don't know about that. Jonathan shooting that arrow because Jonathan never has an issue with David. In fact, they make covenants where not only does Saul's son Jonathan, who that is, by the way, you see him out there in the field right back over here. Okay, so that's Jonathan. So that's Saul, not him. Ew. Okay, yeah. So right here we can see that's supposed to be Saul's son, Jonathan. And because Jonathan rides out with Saul. I think I did mention that earlier, but let's jump back ahead here real quick. Jonathan never actually does that to David. Never end up fighting each other. So, Jonathan, it literally makes a covenant with David that he will never turn from David, that David is the rightful anointed king of Israel. So I don't know. They might be doing something there fun. Oh, there's an idol. Like Saul puts up the idol.
For this.
I don't know what that one is. Ooh. I wonder if that's David when he's out in the wilderness. He doesn't have his sword. Okay, so David right here. I wonder if this is David taking Goliath's sword, because at a certain point, David does take Goliath's sword because he doesn't have a weapon, which is interesting because it would be made out of bronze. This is beautiful, too, the way that they shot this, the reflection.
The true battle is not against flesh.
Okay, wow. I don't know if this is the Israelites fighting Saul, like the ones that ran away with David. I don't think that there's ever a battle between Saul and David like that. I don't think there ever actually is. I could be wrong about that. I should probably check that. Okay, so I just double checked that. So David never goes to battle with Saul. Yeah, because David never goes to battle with Jonathan either, okay? So they never confront each other. They're never at battle. So I don't know if that's David's people. I don't know if they're taking some serious artistic license here with that, but David never fights Saul and he never fights Jonathan. I know that there is a battle where Saul, Jonathan, and one of Saul's other sons all fight, and they all are killed. Saul technically ends his life at his own hand, but no, I don't know how that's going to end up lining up with that, but I thought that was really neat that they're doing that clash. Oh, I forgot about this. I love this. So we look here and we see David has this helmet on. That is not something, as we could see back earlier, that is not something that the Israelite army, so they're not wearing helmets. If you see here, neither is Saul and his forces wearing helmets. Well, Saul is wearing like a helmet hat type thing, but for the most part, they don't wear helmets. But look here. So look here. We see this. He's wearing a Philistine helmet. Now, why would David be wearing a Philistine helmet? Well, if we go to, look back through 1 Samuel, I love this attention to detail. In 1 Samuel, David does serve the Philistines. He serves the Philistines for 1 year and 4 months. And that is wild that they're adding that in here. So I don't know how that's going to come into play here with the battle. I know David has to go rescue the Israelites that come and follow him. And David loves that he's able to fight the enemies of Israel as a Philistine. And the Philistines really like him, but they also are like, what is he doing? I don't know if we can trust this guy. We don't know why he's been doing this. He's got men under him and everything, and he's a great guy. I mean, he's never hurt us ever, but, I don't know. He's never turned his back on us, but I don't trust him. So that's interesting. So David pretends to fight for the Philistines. He's able to take out enemies of Israel, which is really cool, by the way, really smart on David's part with his 600-man militia. But what I love is then the Philistines, while David never actually does anything to the Philistines to actually make himself look like he's, gonna cross them. What I love is they don't trust him fully, so they don't let him go to battle. So David never ends up fighting the Israelites in that battle. They don't trust him. So David never actually fights against them. But, when Saul fights the Philistines and he is killed, David is like super, super upset about that. So David never even wants Saul to be, destroyed. He tears his cloak over it, like his tunic, I believe. David's like super mournful because not only does, he never wanted Saul to die. He wanted Saul to be better. And Saul, after begging that, armor bearer to run him through, Saul ends up taking out his own sword and, falling on it. What's devastating is like Saul never realized that like David can't believe this. He's devastated. What I love is that they do show that here. They're going to show that with David. That's going to be so cool. This is going to be beautiful.
But in our hearts.
Okay, right here. That's Jonathan in battle against the Philistines. So what I'm thinking is this is when Jonathan's going to, be killed. I'm wondering if this is how they're going to end it too, which is going to be wild because they may do a David part 2 then, because, that happens right at the end of 1 Samuel is when Saul dies. And so I think that's really interesting. But
in our hearts.
And then I was wondering if that's going to be Bathsheba, that girl, that woman. I don't know though, because David has many wives. And if this is just the first part of 1 Samuel, it could be Abigail, it could be Michal or Michael. We don't know, but it's going to be neat. I'm excited to see what that's all about. And then we see David.
What can I do but look after my sheep? Come on and follow the light.
It looks awesome, guys. This looks so cool. And the way that they've got the evidence behind it, all the designs, all of just everything, the way that they made it look, this is going to be an amazing movie. So I really, really, really hope that you guys take your family. If you have kids, make sure that you take your kids to go see something like this. I think it's such a powerful film. If you're a young person, and you have a cousin or a little brother or sister, you should probably take them to go see this movie and maybe help teach them a little bit more about the story and why, these things happen. Now, they took some artistic license, which is, totally understandable. Not everything can be perfect in a movie to make it the director's vision and the writer's vision entirely true to the actual word. But what I love is they did a brilliant job with 95% of it. So it seems to follow the story right. It gives that drama. David doesn't want the throne, even though, David does not fight that anointing. It's just it all looks so cool. From that to the Philistines to the way everything looks with the idols. I mean, they really paid attention to what the Bible says with like the little details. I mean, Samuel only says when he's taking Saul's a blessing away from the Lord, the anointing, his kingship away. He only ever mentions that idol part, right there in connection with Saul building the statue of himself, which is idol, like idolizing Saul. So instead of the Lord. So I love this. This is so well done. Brilliant job, Angel. Comment, like, and subscribe. Share this video around. If you learned something about the Philistines or anything cool like that, leave those comments below. What was your favorite part of the trailer? If I missed something or got something wrong, please correct me. I would love to hear what you guys think. So if you guys could comment, like, and subscribe, that would really help the channel. It helps me make more videos like this. And thank you guys so much for watching. And I can't wait to see you guys next week. Have a good one.